Tonight's story is about New Balance, but also the way in which I personally have approached collecting sneakers and looking at the brands that I prefer. This shoe has changed a bit of that perspective, and that's an insight that I want to share with you as well. So, this is the debut of New Balance, and we look at the 997H. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Soul Knowledge, the home of the sneaker story and the home of sports culture insights. I'm your host Bernie Wicomb, and I am the sneaker evangelist. The story starts a couple of weeks ago when New Balance South Africa invites Soul Knowledge to the launch event of the 997H. Excellent event, well hosted, well presented, good product on offer. It was quite interesting just attending the event and watching how the press and the consumers interacted with the product. These are a couple of things that stood out for me that evening. Having attended the event, I did not at that point in time own any New Balance. I just didn't own a single pair. So if any of you have attended an event like this before, you understand how embarrassing it is going to the event and not having any of the product. So there I am. I can't wear any of the competing brands. That's just rude and offensive. So I pitch up in a pair of Louis V loafers, neutral. I'm laying back in the cut and I started to realize firstly that everybody else has a closer connection to the brand than I do, clearly. But beyond that, as I mentioned in episode 1 of Soul Knowledge, I am a former employee of both Nike and Adidas. And when I generally buy shoes, I gravitate towards those two brands primarily because, well, I've been well raised in the brands. That's just how it goes. You are brainwashed correctly. So generally with most other brands, I don't immediately jump to them, but that's sort of a context of where I'm at. So that evening, New Balance ships me off home with a book to do a bit of homework on the 997. This is done by Sneaker Freaker. You've got to get it for your collection. And also a pair of 997s. When I went home, put them on, looked at them in the mirror, I was immediately and thoroughly surprised at just how cool the lines looked on my feet. I mean, this just looks like any traditional New Balance that the uneducated eye would sort of see on the wall. But the moment I put it on my feet, I was like, oh my. I put the shoe down, I did a bit of reading, and I've come up with some conclusions given the fact that I've gone through several of your Instagram accounts. I started to have a look at the average sneakerhead, and I was not seeing too much New Balance coming out in the collection. And I started to think, how many sneakerheads have actually taken the time to fit it on, to actually say, shucks, let's have a look at this. And I'm not even talking the performance side, that's a different discussion. I'm talking purely street. I mean, I understand why I don't have it because, I've got certain unconscious bias that do exist within my mind space. I just want to make one point clear before I continue into what I really want to share is that just remember, Soul Knowledge does not get paid by New Balance to do this episode. I'm a sneaker evangelist and I'm just sharing the message in the way I best see it. Y'all feeling me on that one? An interesting angle in differentiating themselves from the competitor is that New Balance goes to market with their product and says this product is created in the United States by Americans. American brand and American manufactured. But that's very different to what else has been happening because their competitors are all making product within the East. But New Balance also holds on to this brand statement and beats the drum. It goes on to do marketing that says, our competition has it made, we make it ourselves. And it's messages like that sort of resonate with the American consumer that says, you know what, buy American. Another piece that you've got to understand is that even for a shoe, for example, the 990, which comes out in the year 1982, consider how evolved the running sector was in 82. New Balance, through American factories, managed to put out a shoe with dual density midsoles, with two different types of midsoles in one space. They used the Vibram Superflex outsole, which was a modified outsole, and also used reflective Scotchlite for night running as a reflector. Those were all new innovations in 82. To be placed into a shoe in 82, American made, is actually quite a significant statement. What makes it even more interesting is that because there's a concern about American-made inflating the prices, New Balance actually begins to overcompensate by creating a shoe with literally the best materials, the best leathers, the best uppers within their construction, and actually goes to market with the first shoe or the first running shoe to actually reach a $100 price point. So yes, they are dealing with comparatively more expensive labor, but they want to make a point as to the kind of quality that can exist within that market space. And they deal with the ultra elite in running because they can afford it, they immediately gravitate towards it, and they kind of start creating a name for themselves for the super elite. The other piece is that if you consider New Balance's naming convention, and names like the 997 for example, when they create shoes, they want to make sure that the name of the shoe does not create any artificial connection with the product itself. You need to have a connection purely to the performance of this product. That's a very different way of thinking. A naming convention that gives you no level of emotion to the product, but as a consumer, they just wanted you to enjoy the product for what it is, just its performance. What does that mean to you and I today? When you have a look at what New Balance is producing in their contemporary space for sneakers, you start to realize that there's a level of product that has been so well thought through. And you and I today can take advantage of this overcompensation that they've done in the construction of the shoe. Everything premium, everything well thought through. Once you've got it on your feet, you start to realize that the brand has actually spared no expense in the way that they've actually gone to market with this product. It's all about the product when it comes to New Balance. That is the piece that I would love more cats within the sneaker community to move closer to understand. So I guess my biggest challenge to you, and definitely to myself, is that we get out there and we fit on a pair of New Balance. See it on our feet, feel it in our hands, smell what that inside smells like. Just enjoy a new pair of New Balance. If you guys have already been enjoying New Balance as it stands, I want to understand about some of your favorites, why you believe the brand is as amazing as it is. I want to conclude by just picking up the 997 one more time. I want to share an insight. This shoe has actually not been made in the United States. As the years have gone by, New Balance wanted to make sure that they can sort of reach different markets. This has had an impact on the common pricing of the product. When you have a look at the spec, this is not the most premium leathers used. So they've made a more accessible product within the 997. But what it does educate, and what it's educated me on, is how the footwear's lines work, how it looks like on your feet. And immediately when I look at this, the first thoughts that I have are, this is amazing. Immediately I want to buy up from this. What else does New Balance have? Guys, thank you so much for watching. This is an insight shared by Soul Knowledge. And heavens, thanks for the guys at New Balance for just helping us see something new again.